Trump issued a stern warning to anyone planning to stir up trouble at his rally in Tulsa tomorrow, tweeting today, "Any protesters, anarchists, agitators, looters, or lowlifes who are going to Oklahoma, please understand, you will not be treated like you've been in New York, Seattle, or Minneapolis. It will be a much different scene." That tweet came after concerns that violent demonstrations would blanket the city. Originally, Tulsa Mayor G.T. Bynum declared a civil emergency and instituted a 10 p.m. curfew around the rally venue. But late this afternoon, that was apparently rescinded, so Trump fans could continue to wait in line. Either way, the next 24 hours and beyond are going to be rather eventful. My next guest has consulted with college campuses on how to deal with anarchist groups. That sounds like fun. He says the mayor is absolutely right to prepare for potential chaos. Chris Swecker, his former assistant FBI director, joins me now. Chris, welcome aboard. How are you?
Good evening, Tammy.
Well, look, clearly at this point, when you think about how do you handle a group like Antifa or anarchists, what should the city and campaign be planning for?
Well, they should plan for the worst. And what the public needs to understand, and those that are coming to Tulsa need to understand, is the inner federal perimeter is controlled by the Secret Service. Right. And they don't, and they mean business. They're going to plan for the worst. They're going to have a moderate level of police force showing, but there's going to be a lot of resources out of sight and in the background. And they're trained to deal with this type of thing.
Yeah, this clearly is where law enforcement matters. They're trained. They know generally what to expect. What's going to be interesting, of course, Americans have seen cities that have not taken control of the environment. I think this is valuable, and I would guess you might agree, that regardless of your position on the president or the rally, the fact is it's important for Americans to see that government in this country, city governments, state governments, the federal government, can take control of an environment, and that's what they're going to see, aren't they?
I think absolutely. I mean, Oklahoma is the kind of state that embraces conservative values and the rule of law, and what you're going to see converging on Tulsa is every manner of anarchist, anybody who's anti-Trump is going to show up. You're going to have elements that are there to do nothing but provoke the police. They're trained to do it. I've seen them do it. Yeah. They will spit on them. They will throw rocks at them.
Speaking of that,
pop
Chris,
out of the crowd and just commit all kinds of violence to get a reaction.
And you've seen this. Chris, New York Times' Nicholas Kristof, though, thinks we're being too alarmist about Antifa. He writes, "These Antifa panics are where racism and hysteria intersect. In a nation that has more guns than people, they arise when a lying president takes every opportunity not to heal our nation's divisions, but to stoke them when people live in a news ecosystem that provides no reality check, but inflames prejudices and feeds fear." Do you believe that? Do you buy into that?
Not a bit. I've seen them in action, and people who have seen them in action and understand their doctrine. Their doctrine is that violence can be committed against people they deem to be fascist. Their definition of fascist is anyone who's on the right of the political spectrum. So if they find somebody wearing a MAGA hat, they will thump him or her. They will hit them with sticks. They will commit violence at the drop of a hat. That's what they're there for.
Yeah, well, fortunately, of course, we're looking at a dynamic where at least the federal government understands. That's why that perimeter you described is key. And we aren't used to that, but we've seen with Donald Trump rallies before the seriousness of this when it comes to the security. Is there, again, at least certainly a linkage? Do you find that local police, do they mind the federal government being there? Do they mind having to deal with the Secret Service? Or these days, is there more of a brother and a sisterhood coming together in dealing with keeping people safe?
Yeah, I think the police are very happy that they're there. It's not some mayor's decision. It's not some governor's decision inside that federal perimeter. It is under the control of the Secret Service, and these cops will be backed up. There'll be full support behind them, and there'll be plenty of resources behind them as well.
Excellent, excellent. Well, Chris, thank you. You know, this is a time when people are complaining politically in many instances about the nature of law enforcement. But when it comes right down to it, our lives, social cohesion exists. Because of that, it's a thin blue line, but it's also kind of an anonymous line when it comes to the kind of work that goes into making of all kinds of events, rallies, football games, other 4th of July coming up, and the importance of that. Chris, thanks for joining me tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Tammy.
All righty.